what is really unnerving to me about this bill is all of it, but there's one part that really gets me. So listen, I used to work in the senior housing industry. So independent living, assisted living, memory care. And I had some work around with nursing homes, long term care, and the processes that go along with those things. So, Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, and how you pay for these things, and the families that help subsidize and moving people in and out, the ones who have to sell their homes, the ones who use their retirement, and kids help, and things like that, right? So, a significant number of seniors who are in these communities are subsidized by their kids and grandkids and also depend on government services for prescription drugs, long term care. They get Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And Medicare is called different things in some states. And that's important to remember because there are certain people who, when they're talking of cutting Medicare, they're not making the connection that that's what they're getting because states call it different things. But when that's cut, I don't know the percentage, but a significant portion of seniors will no longer be able to afford to live in those communities unless they get additional help from their loved ones, kids, grandkids, and so forth. Now, the wealthy ones can afford it, and these communities are expensive. I'm in California, everything is expensive and more expensive, but senior communities tend to be pretty uniform around the country in that they're all expenses, all expensive. And the more services you need and the more amenities they have, the more you're going to pay every month. So you're looking at between a studio and one bedroom apartment, between at a minimum 5,000 for a studio, at a minimum. But on average, the average person is going to pay about $7,000 to $8,000 a month. And then the more services you need, the medical care and things like that, you're talking 12, 13, 14,000. And if memory care is involved, and that's those with dementia and Alzheimer's, you're talking 15 to 20,000. It's that much money. Now, most of the residents are older white women because white women live the longest in this country and they have their own retirements. They get their husband's retirements because husbands pass away, they get their monies, and they usually sell a home and they move into these communities. They may be okay, the wealthier ones, but most of the people, I shouldn't say most, a significant number of the people in senior communities are not super wealthy. They're wealthy, but they're not super wealthy. But this bill will strip Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care, raise the cost of prescription drugs, put work requirements, and just really awful policies like that. And you're going to see people, seniors, suffer. Now, remember, I was just talking about the wealthy ones. There are seniors who live in other senior communities that exclusively use or depend on their Social Security and their Medicare. That's all they have. And those communities tend to be, they don't have the same amenities. They're not as lovely. They're just bare bones. You can liken them to, and I don't mean this in a negative way, just as a comparison's sake, Section 8 housing. I mean, this is what you can afford. The government will subsidize, have this facility. It's sort of like a warehouse. It's not very pretty and things like that. But it is a bed, there's rooms, there's food, things like that. But it's not high end. And those seniors usually have no other income except what they get from the government. They don't usually have friends or family or kids or things that help subsidize them. These are your seniors who they were poor for most, according to American standards. They were poor, and then they retired poor, and this is the services they can get. And that's going to be cut. And I'm going to tell you, I've said this before, Donald Trump doesn't love anyone. He doesn't love anyone. He hates everyone. There's only two people Donald Trump loves. Himself, everyone knows that, and his daughter Ivanka. That's it. That's his first and only love. Those himself and his daughter. Everyone else he hates. He hates billionaires, he hates everybody. It doesn't matter. And if he can harm them, and Republicans can harm them, that's what they're going to do because they're going to do his bidding. So this bill will have a significant impact on seniors and seniors in senior living communities and facilities, and the demographic who most fill the beds in the rooms in those communities are white women because white women have the most money and they live the longest. And so when you see these Republicans talk about, oh, they could just get to work, they could do this, they're telling their base, they're talking about black people and brown people. But that's not who's going to be most impacted, because black and brown people, seniors, tend to, if they don't live alone, they live with family. Whereas older white people, a significant number, live in these communities. So that's who's being targeted, and that's who's going to be hurt the most. And I'm not one to gloat on something like that, because I've worked with seniors, and it's unnerving, and I'm disturbed by the fact that they're targeting seniors this blatantly, and our media is trashed, and they're gonna push those stories, and it'll be too late before it hits at the media atmosphere echo chamber, and that's too bad. That's too bad.
I just came out here to tell y'all that I work for Medicare. And the changes that Trump is making, oh, dang, can I probably not say his name? Anyways, the changes that he's making is real life. They are cutting people's Medicaid checks, no letter, no explanation. They are increasing their Medicare coverage premiums. They are, they're, it's like the only result is that they're trying to, all the elderly. I literally had a man that was getting a transplant, got the clear on Friday. Yesterday on the 1st, they cut everything, cut his Medicaid, cut his SSI. He can't get anything. So he cannot get his transplant. In 3 days, that made a change. Like, check on your grandma, check on your grandpa, your mama, your daddy, because they going through it. And it's really sad.